When people think of a Halo spin-off game, I think most people will automatically remember the RTS title Halo Wars, but today I'm going to be looking at what is possibly the most forgotten Halo spin-off game, and that is Spartan Assault. Released in 2013 on Xbox and ported to Steam the following year, Spartan Assault is a relatively short top-down shooter that can be finished in under 4 hours, and while it's not my favorite top-down shooter, it's still a decent title. I reckon the best place to start my review is the gameplay. You use the left joystick to move and the right joystick to aim, and RT to fire when playing with an Xbox controller. And aiming usually wasn't too hard, but it got a hair wonky on occasion, and I think this game could have benefited from giving you a laser sight of some sort, but oh well. Anyways, you can hold 2 guns at once, in addition to being able to hold a maximum of 2 grenade types, and you can find ammo and fresh nades scattered around the levels. Or you can loot them from fallen enemies. This title has a pretty good variety of weaponry, with things like dual-wield SMGs, an assault rifle, Covenant alien weapons, and more, although some guns, like the shotgun, were pretty crappy. The shotgun specifically for its pathetic range, but most tools of combat were either good or decent in my opinion. And to go along with a fair selection of weapons, Spartan Assault also has a hefty enemy roster, with things like weak grunts and jackals, but also elites, brutes, and a couple other enemy types. Plus some foes had variants, like camouflage elites or kamikaze grunts with sticky nades, so a pretty decent variety of opponents to turn into lead cushions. Getting into other things, you also hold a power-up, which are things like a sprint power-up, a healing area, not to be mistaken for a bubble shield, a hologram decoy, and more, although the game would sometimes assign you the most random and useless power-ups for a mission, like assigning you the sprint power-up for a level where you mostly just stay in a tiny area and guard a door. Anyways, in some levels you can find alternate power-ups if you don't like the spawn-in one, but in most levels you have to take what you get, unless you want to buy a power-up. But how do you actually buy a power-up? That's a good question that will take a bit of explaining. So, you earn a score in each level based off things like how fast you finish a mission or how many kills you get, and your score is tallied up at the end of a level. Now each level has stars, if you will, and getting a star requires X amount of points, and for every star you get, you earn some XP, this game's currency, which you can use to buy a power-up, change your spawning gun, stuff like that, but you can only use the items you purchase in that one level. If you want to use those same things in the next level, you'll have to buy them again, and swapping power-ups or guns isn't cheap, but you can increase your XP payout by turning on skulls, which bump up the difficulty, and do things like turning off your HUD or making it so that firing your gun drains your shield. So kind of a risk-reward thing. More skulls equals more danger, but it also equals more money, although you can only have a maximum of 2 skulls turned on at once. Changing gears, I would like to talk about missions and their objectives. Most levels in Spartan Assault could be finished in under 10 minutes, and there are 30 levels spread out among 6 chapters. Objective-wise, this game has a ton of escort missions, and sections where you have to defend an area for a few minutes. There were also levels where you had to find and destroy buildings or certain enemies, and there were several parts where you got to drive a vehicle, like a tank. There was also one boss fight, which was decent. And I think that largely covers this title gameplay-wise. Outside of the campaign, there aren't really any other modes except for the tutorial. Now story-wise, this is kind of interesting. How to say this? You're a military cadet watching a war simulation of some events that happened between Halo 3 and 4. if that makes sense. And that's about all I got from this game. The story wasn't anything to get hyped up over when compared to something like Halo Reach, but it was good enough, I guess. Graphically, Spartan Assault looks fine for what it is. The sound effects and VAs were alright, but the soundtrack was amazing. The controller support ran fine, although I wish there was some way to turn off vibrations, as it could get a little extreme when driving a vehicle. Performance-wise, I had few issues with Spartan Assault, although I had to restart one level in which the objective was to kill all of the aliens in an area, and one got glitched out of bounds and I couldn't get to him. And yeah, I'd say that wraps up this game pretty well, and it earns a 7 out of 10 by my grade scale. It can be a fun time waster, but there are better top-down shooters out there in my opinion. Although thankfully, I got this one on sale for under $1. And it came with trading cards, which I sold to make some of my money back. Anywho, as for similar video games I could recommend, I'm gonna say I made a game with zombies in it and Zombieland Double Tap Road Trip, both of which I have reviewed. Links to those videos will be in the end cards if you want to check them out. As a couple side notes apart from my review, according to Wikipedia, this was the first ever Halo game to be on Steam. So I guess this is when Halo being an Xbox exclusive really stopped being a thing. And also, while this game did release on Xbox 360 and is backwards compatible on newer consoles, the 360 version has been delisted, but the Xbox One version can still be purchased on consoles. Alrighty, I reckon that's it for my review itself. As for our Bible verse of the day, I read John 1:17 NIV. For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. Tell me if you understand why I chose that verse today, and let me know your thoughts on today's video down in the comments. For anyone new here, I mostly review and discuss Xbox 360 games, but I cover other devices as well, like today. But feel free to check out the rest of my channel if you like Xbox 360 game reviews. And like always, none of my content is ever made by AI, and I don't consent to my voice and likeness being modified, altered, and copied by AI in any way. Jesus is King, He loves you all. Thanks for watching and for tolerating my horrible narrations. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.
What?